You ever wonder if there's an answer to that constant, low-level stress we all seem to carry around? Well, what if a guide written 2,500 years ago actually had a practical roadmap for it? It's really a timeless search, right? We're all looking for something solid in a world that can feel pretty shaky. Today, we're going to dive into the Buddha's guide to finding that solid ground. So, to explain this whole journey, the Buddha used this really powerful metaphor. He said it's like searching for the heartwood of a tree. You know, that strong, dense, essential core. That, right there, is the spiritual journey in a nutshell. It's about cutting through all the fluff to find what truly matters, what's genuinely and lastingly freeing. And this quote just nails the problem, doesn't it? We get so easily distracted by the twigs and leaves. Think about it. The next dopamine hit from a social media notification, that promotion we're chasing at work, the next shiny thing we can buy. We grab onto these things thinking, this is it, this is the real deal, when we're completely missing the actual source of lasting well-being. So, that's the big question for us today. What is the real heartwood? What is that one essential thing that can actually free us from that background hum of stress and dissatisfaction that we all live with? Let's find out what the text has to say. You know, before you can find a cure for anything, you need a really accurate diagnosis. And what's so powerful about the Buddha's approach is that it doesn't start with some pie-in-the-sky philosophy. Nope. It starts with a very real, very direct look at the fundamental problem of just, well, being human. Now, you've probably heard this word dukkha translated as suffering, but it's not about being miserable all the time. A better way to think of it is as that inherent stress, that background static of dissatisfaction, that feeling that everything is just a little unreliable because, well, it's always changing. It's a feeling we all know deep down. And what's fascinating is just how precise this diagnosis is. See, dukkha isn't just some vague feeling of sadness. It's a whole spectrum of unease. We're talking everything from the raw physical pain of, stubbing your toe, to the deep mental grief of losing someone you love. It's a really comprehensive look at all the ways life can just feel fundamentally off. And here's the kicker. Absolutely no one is exempt. This is not a problem for a select few. As this line from the text makes crystal clear, impermanence, loss, and that feeling of dissatisfaction, it's baked into the system for every single one of us. It doesn't matter how rich you are, how smart you are, none of it. Okay, so if dukkha is the diagnosis, what's the actual cause? According to the Buddha, this isn't random. There's a very specific engine driving all this unease, and it's something that, honestly, we all know really, really well. So, the culprit has a name, tanha, which we translate as craving. And this isn't just, wanting a cup of coffee. It's that relentless, thirsty, grasping part of our minds that is constantly looking for delight in this and that. It's the engine that keeps us on the hamster wheel, always searching for the next hit of pleasure, the next bit of satisfaction. And this craving shows up in three main flavors. First, there's the obvious one, chasing sensual pleasures. The next great meal, the next show to binge watch. Then there's the craving for being, that deep drive to become someone, to leave a mark, to just continue. And believe it or not, when life gets too painful, there's even a craving for non-being, the wish for it all to just stop. They seem different, but they're all just different faces of the very same trap. This quote just hits so hard because it's so true. As long as we're being driven by this insatiable thirst, this craving, life just feels incomplete. We are, in a very real sense, slaves to our own desires, always running, but never actually arriving at a place of true, lasting peace. Okay, so diagnosis, cause, it all sounds a little heavy, right? But this is the crucial turning point. This is where it all shifts from problem to solution. Because the Buddha didn't just point out what's wrong, he offered a clear, practical, and genuinely hopeful treatment, a path out. At the core of this training are two mental skills that work together, kind of like the two wings of a bird. First, you've got serenity meditation, or samatha. This is all about calming and focusing the mind, creating a stable, clear platform. Then, from that place of stability, you use insight meditation, or vipassana. That's where you learn to just observe your own experience clearly, to see the nature of that craving and impermanence for yourself directly. Now, this mental training doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's part of a complete framework for living, the Noble Eightfold Path. And look at this. It's so much more than just sitting on a meditation cushion, right? It's a totally holistic system. It starts with your whole perspective, your wisdom, that's right view and intention. That then shapes your ethical conduct, how you talk, how you act, even how you make a living. And all of that is supported by your mental discipline, your effort, mindfulness, and concentration. See how each part strengthens all the others? And here's the absolute key takeaway. This path, it's not a dogma you're supposed to just blindly believe in. It's a set of skills you have to develop. Every single step is a practice, a way of actively training your mind and heart, just like you'd train your body to learn a sport. It's something you do, not just something you believe. So where does all this training lead? I mean, if you actually walk this path, what's the result? What's the final destination? Well, this is the heartwood we've been searching for this whole time. The ultimate goal is a state of profound freedom, a deep and unshakable well-being. The ideal figure who has completed this training is called the arahant. And just listen to the language used to describe this person. Laid down the burden. I mean, just think about that. How much of our daily life feels like we're just carrying this heavy burden? The arahant is someone who is described as completely liberated, living in a state of incredible peace because that inner war, that constant struggle, is finally over. Okay, get this. This is one of the most powerful images in the entire text. Imagine a leper whose only relief from his sores comes from cauterizing them in a pit of burning charcoal. It hurts, but it's a relief. But then, imagine he's miraculously cured. If someone tried to drag him back to that fire pit, he'd fight with everything he has, right? The fire didn't change, he did. And it's the same idea here. Once the sickness of craving is cured, the things we used to chase for pleasure are no longer even attractive. The desire itself is just gone. And that brings us right back to where we started. We began this whole journey looking for the heartwood. And we've seen the Buddha's answer. The real heartwood is this path of practice that leads to the end of craving. So the final question really isn't for me. It's for you. In your own search for happiness, what are you treating as the heartwood that might just be twigs and leaves?